Evening, everyone, and welcome to Supernatural Radio. I am Corinne DeWinter, and a lifelong devotee to supernatural paranormal. I've done some investigating, and I am joined by my co-host, Nino Del Padre.
Hello. I'm Nino Del Padre, filmmaker and also an avid investigator and believer in supernatural phenomena.
And he's actually filmed a few things that are quite remarkable in terms of supernatural happenings, which hopefully we'll be able to put on the new website that we have. It's supernaturalradioshow.com. Very easy. It's all together, supernaturalradioshow.com. You can go there, get updates, listen to our past shows, or give us your opinion on what you'd like to hear. And we also have giveaways. And you know, you can also listen live on supernaturalradioshow.com. Okay. So we are doing time travel tonight. And, I didn't know anything about, John Titor. But Nino has enlightened me a little bit about who John Titor was. He was quite the time traveler. He's gone now.
He's gone now. Yeah, he was. He popped up on some bulletin boards around the year 2000, and he was claiming to be a time traveler from the year 2036. And in the post, he made some predictions and told of a future war that he was involved with. His postings claimed that he was like an American soldier, and he was based in Tampa, I believe, Tampa, Florida, and he was assigned to like a government time travel project.
Okay.
And he was supposedly sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he said he needed to debug various legacy computer programming in 2036.
Okay, so that computer was special for some reason?
Yeah. It was supposedly it had some means of debugging certain software languages that, contemporary machines don't possess, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And that in itself was really intriguing when I first heard the story. Right. I was like, wow, that's pretty wild. That, think come back for something like that. He then further went on to claim to have a time displacement unit, and he posted some diagrams and some photos of the actual time machine that he had used supposedly. And he further claimed that what's known as the Everett Wheeler model of quantum physics was correct. In that model, better known as the many worlds interpretation, every possible outcome of a quantum decision accurately occurs in a separate universe. He stated that this was the reason the grandfather paradox would not occur. Following the logic of the argument, Titor would be killing a different John Titor's grandfather in a timeline other than his own. So he's saying that the grandfather paradox, which is often discussed in time travel, is impossible. Because all paradox is impossible. As a matter of fact, he stated that there are multiple world theories is correct, and that, again, all possible states and events, possibilities, outcomes are real, eventual, and occurring.
Right.
So,
right. Well, I mean, okay, so now, just from what little I know about time travel, is that supposedly it's much easier to go forward in time than backward?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so
some people say that because of this grandfather paradox, which basically states that if you were to travel back in time and kill your parents or your grandparents, for instance, you would cease to exist because you would never have been born.
Right.
And in that respect, you would have no way, of course, of time traveling if you didn't exist to begin with. So a lot of people say that it's not possible, or it's very difficult to travel to the past. And, during the one timeline scenario, there's also people that believe that there are multiple timelines or multiple dimensions, so to speak, and that you could actually have, there are many, many separate timeline. So if you were to go back in time, you would be on your very own timeline, for instance. So although all timelines are different, they share some similar things, but basically it would be impossible to go. You would be a stranger,
right?
You know, when you travel back in time.
Oh, that's a lonely trip.
Yeah, you would be totally alien, and you would just supposedly disappear from wherever you jumped from.
Okay.
And although you would still remain a memory in your friends and family, they would still remember you.
Okay, but
you would just disappear off the face of the earth.
Okay, so they wouldn't even see you anymore, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then you would just be some person in whatever time you traveled back to that didn't exist prior to your jump.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And I'm also, again, this is Supernatural Radio, and we are so excited because we have actually as a very special guest appearance, and we've had some wicked weather here in the Northeast. So even so, we have Peter Moon joining us, and Peter is a multi-talented, fantastic individual. He's written many, many books. Among them, he co-authored the Montauk Project with Preston Nichols, who we also had on the show. And he has a new series, starts with Transylvania Sunrise. And then the next book is Transylvania Moonrise, excuse me. And he has a new one also coming out, which we're going to actually get into in another separate show. But first of all, let's welcome Peter. And Peter, thank you so much for calling in tonight.
Well, you're welcome, and it's so nice to be with you again, Corinne.
Thank you, Peter. And, I know probably all there is to know about time travel, and I'm a little bit shy in this department. I don't understand everything. It seems weird to me, but from reading your books, I know that there is, there's been many time travelers. What can you tell us? Is it possible to time travel?
Well, let me say as my friend David Anderson would say, the short answer is yes. But let me say before I say anything is that we've been having a lot of spikes of energy. So if I suddenly disappear, I'll call you back. Just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yes, Dr. David Anderson, who has become a friend and colleague of mine since 1999, is a hardcore scientist. His expertise is in mathematics and engineering and physics, and he can lecture you on completely scientific principles of why time travel doesn't violate anything in science. What it does violate is our experiences. So, although it's been my job to chronicle the work of Preston Nichols, I do not claim to be a time traveler like there are many people who do. What I try to specialize in this field, because as they say, time is a scientific plausibility and probability and actuality, is to integrate and make the experiences that coherent. I'm interested in coherency, not in wild stories. A little bit of wild stories maybe, but if they serve to correlate and make coherent the subject, which is hard for human beings to understand. And the reason it's hard for human beings to understand is because human beings do not operate with 100% of their mental or brain capacity. And this is the challenge we're dealing with. So time is a very important part of who and what we are.
Peter, do you think that you have actually met someone who has come from the future or the past?
Well, I get that impression with David Anderson, all the goings on that I've had with him, which it's all very subtle. Preston Nichols, he has visitations from himself in the future. I've been subjected to these stories for a long time, and back in the day, he never wanted those published. he never wanted to talk about that. He would tell those very privately.
I know, because knowing from reading the Montauk newsletters, Peter's got a great website. He sells many of the books all of the books that he's written or co-written on skybooks.com. And
Skybooks.usa.com.
USA.
USA.
Okay, skybooks.usa.com. And if you want, and believe me when I tell you, Peter, you are such a good writer in the way that when you start to read one of Peter's books, you will not want to put it down.
No, I can attest to that.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
It is
I'm really
amazing.
psyched to have him on.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like, and it's written in terms that anyone can understand.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk over us. And so I just want to, give you a lot of credit, because, I mean, it's hard to write, as intelligently as you do and still make it understandable for people like me that aren't,
Well, thank you, but I think you're a very good writer, too, and you've actually won an award, something I haven't done, the Bram Stoker Award, so...
yeah, that's no big deal.
I don't know about that.
But, so you think Dr. David Anderson is perhaps a time traveler?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think, Duncan Cameron, too. Duncan Cameron, who was the main character in the Montauk Project, when I first saw him, it's like, I just said, I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm pretty good at assessing the psychology of an individual when I look at them, and I just said, it wasn't like, what type of person is that? It was like, what is that? I don't mean that with any disrespect. I mean, it was just like complete uniqueness, a very unique creature. David is interesting because, like in the Montauk Project, you have Preston Nichols and you have Duncan Cameron, and then you have me writing about them and trying to correlate it and being sort of the business person and the writer. And in David Anderson, you have sort of a combination of all three of us. You have the scientist, which Preston is. You have the business person, because he has his own company, and he's very much a business person, an excellent business person, although that's not his main interest. He also has components of Duncan, but these are the time traveler, the person who is moving through time, because you can't become a part of experiments like he does and not be influenced. But he doesn't talk about it. He's very quiet and reserved and very humble as well. And sometimes I don't know that he can talk about it. And by the way, I have some news on him tonight. Dr. David Anderson is coming out with his website again in December. He told me just a few days ago in an email. He wrote me a couple of emails and said, I'm going to re-release my website. And this is a big deal. And I said, I suggested to him that he do it with the Mayan calendar. He said, that's a good idea. I like that idea. So if you see it being released on the 21st of December, it's because I suggested it to him. It's not because it's being released on the same day of the Mayan calendar. So that's a neat thing to do.
This is amazing, because I know David Anderson has been, for lack of a better term, in hiding for a lot of these past few years. Is that right?
Well, under the radar under the hiding, and rather than hiding under the radar, there were instances where he did not come. He has not been in Romania the last 3 years, which was disappointing the first year, and we were greeted by Navy SEALs who occupied the island, Romanian Navy SEALs, and it was deemed not safe for him to be there by one of my astrologer friends, who was adamant that he not go. But that's not why he didn't go. He was not told that. He made up his own mind not to go. The next year, he had conflicts in getting there schedule-wise, and so he's been concentrating a lot on the research in India. They have the biggest time facilities there in the world near Mumbai.
Okay.
And I believe his website's going to be hosted out of Mumbai or nearby Mumbai in the Digi Hills or DG Hills, D-I-G-H-I, Hills of India is where the biggest facility in the world for time travel is, or time control research. So the hiding aspect when he came out on the radio a few years ago, about 3 years ago, he was virulently attacked on a personal level, which was libelous, and that didn't really upset him so much. What upset him was that they were attacking his charitable foundation. So he's gone to every length to dot the I's and cross the T's of that charitable foundation, which is reincorporated in the state of New Mexico. It was incorporated in the state of New York. And now there's very strong scrutiny of New Mexican corporations. But 501(c)(3)Cs, or whatever they're called. And the problem is that when he was attacked, they weren't attacking his foundation because it didn't have its I's dotted and T's crossed. They were attacking him for the sake of attacking him. And the problem it reduced the subject. It took away from, he was going to release a bunch of videos to explain more of, there's a disclosure schedule that he has. And all this did was retard the disclosure schedule by these idiots that would just go ape over the fact that he knew something that they didn't know. And mankind as a body politic was not ready to deal with this. I hope that things have changed now so that they are ready to deal with it, or that they have no choice but to deal with it. It's like put up or shut up. So his disappearance coincided with a bad reaction from many human beings. There were many people like yourselves that would be interested. And there's also another factor. There's censorship from above or at his level. And censorship is the main issue in military warfare. It's censorship. Censor what you can see, what you can think, what you can access, and that's the main. So there's a lot of censorship around the science of time, and he's right in the middle of it.
Now, okay, so when you say these idiots, who are they? Is it the government? Who? Why would they want to stop him from disclosing?
It's not the government. It's not the government. It's people that are prominent in the UFO field. People that are prominent, and when I say prominent, you might not respect them. I might not respect them, and they just tell lies. Carl Sagan was the type of individual who would do that. He's passed away. Mention him. I have a blog, digitalmontauk.com, that I need to, update and activate because I've been too busy with this book to keep it active. But there's information on there that sort of go into this. And people will say, well, he's released his patent. Some of the patents are classified, but he's shown the patents for the time reactor. And, people will say he doesn't have a patent. It's a fake patent. Well, go checking the patent off.
Right.
It's just nonsense. And it's like poor reaction and irresponsible reaction. But I'm not foreign to this at all. I have a very thick skin. I have a personality that can endure a tremendous amount of attack, and I don't get that much, but I'm not sensitive to it because I understand how dense and stupid people can be because I've had to deal with a lot of stupidity in my life, so it doesn't bother me.
Right.
And then the subject, when you study these sensitive subjects of censorship, it gets into the esoteric band and into, because behind the government people, for lack of a better word, we can call them the jinn, those spiritual forces which open gateways to consciousness, open it and close it. And this is the old, techniques of which were attributed to Solomon, Goetia, and then these names, the barbarous names of invocation that these hold the portals to those parts of the brain that we don't use. So it goes right into the occult, when you begin to see what are the forces behind the full panorama of consciousness. These are things I explore in my books as well. So time, it's not all that clear. It's not like we're going to download an app and now we can go back in time to when we were, 4 years old or back to a previous life or something like that. It's not quite that easy, at least at this point in time. There's forces that get in the way. And this is why when I explored the Montauk Project, I began to have synchronicities with the occult, with Aleister Crowley, and all this 666 stuff, which those are the occult references or authorships that underscore so much of the manipulation of consciousness, of which time is a component.
Now, for people that don't know who Preston Nichols is, and we don't have to go into him too much, but I know he claimed to exist in a couple different parallels, realities. Cameron, Duncan Cameron, he was supposedly, Peter, he was on the ship, the
USS Eldridge. Duncan has memories of being on the USS Eldridge with his brother, Edward Cameron, and the two characters, Duncan Cameron and Al Bielek, identified themselves as those people. But it's important to point out that the Duncan that we know today was born in 1951. And the Duncan who was on that ship is, according to their experiences, is his soul, so to speak, was transferred into a new body with the same father and the same name. So it was there's some time. The original Duncan was dying at Montauk and getting very old, so they did a soul transfer, and they had the father create a new baby, which was Duncan in 1951, who became involved in the Montauk experiment.
Wow.
It's all very hard to fathom.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It could well be true.
It's amazing.
Now,
they are remarkable characters.
Now, when you say, like, for instance, Dr. David Anderson, that you inherently know that he is a time traveler, how would you, like, what is different about the person that you meet that might be a time traveler? How would you know?
Yeah, do they share any common traits?
To tell you the honest truth, I've only met one person who I saw have time displacement, and that's Maya Leibowitz. And she used to come to the meetings on Long Island, and Duncan was always very uncomfortable around her.
Oh.
I saw her, kind of walk around, drive a car around a building and come out before she could have possibly parked in the parking lot.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
And she did it so fast, and then I later told her, and she says, no. She says, you were sitting in the parking lot when I parked. I was already out there. And I said, no. There was nobody. I was the only one in the parking lot. There was no way you were there. And I saw her drive in. So we kind of crossed in time. And I had some other funny experiences with her. So she checked out on Preston's machine, which you've seen, which it's a mind amplifier, and said, people that back up this song, Swan Lake, are time travelers. She backed it up. And he saw her hand disappear while we were in the same room. I did not see it disappear because I was blocked from viewing it from where I was positioned in the room. So already said she was a time traveler. I later saw her have this time displacement.
I want to pause you one quick second. I have a question for you. The way I'm understanding this, are you saying she was unaware of that little time jump, or she just didn't want to admit it?
She might not have been aware, but she didn't like to admit it at that time. She might look at one situation and see herself with a plethora of realities going in different directions. Instead of she goes out to get the paper, and she might see 5 different realities or 3 different realities, timelines superimposing on one. That's the kind of thing she's had to suffer through in her life, and
and her boyfriends must have suffered through it too.
Imagine that.
I mean, where is she now, Peter?
She's in Florida now. She moved from New Jersey. She is in Florida. And she's a friend on my Facebook. You could friend her if you wanted to.
That's very interesting. So all right. So I know you've dealt with this stuff for so many years, and you're kind of getting to know who might be a time traveler and who might not be. So, all right. So do you think that we're dealing with, in this society now, and in our reality, this reality that we're in, are we dealing with a lot of time travelers or hardly any?
Well, we're all travelers in time. We all are travelers in time. There's also an aspect to Qigong, which I practice, where the more advanced practitioners, they move in time. They can pick an arrow out of the air. So, they're slowing down time. It's all about perception. So we're all time travelers. The problem because we're all traveling in time, we're talking about superimpositions or transferring, like beam me up, Scotty sort of stuff. This is on the rare side. And the people that claim to do it with a lot of frequency, they have to be viewed for their coherency factor without criticizing them and saying, are they doing it or are they not doing it, is what is the coherency? Because like right now, those of us in the Northeast are dealing with the reality of, keeping our electricity and our heat on and getting food in our mouth. This is very important right now. If time traveling does not suit what you're trying to do or accomplish, it becomes an irrelevant subject. So relevancy is very key. Einstein, talked about relativity. Well, what is the relativity of time travelers? The whole challenge is to integrate the science. Now, David's releasing this new website, and I don't know what it's going to say. But if it comes out and says the same old thing that he said before, which was a great website, it's one of the best websites you'll see. But it's sort of like we need a new paradigm shift. 2012 suggests a paradigm shift, the end of the Mayan calendar that people have been waiting for so long. There will be paradigm shifts. This storm gives us a paradigm shift. It's an earth change. So I would certainly hope that his website will give us all something to think about in a new reference frame. The new book I'm working on, Secret Parchment by Radu Sinamar, is certainly a paradigm shifter. So it's, what are we going to do and how are we going to integrate what we learn? Time traveling is not very practical in a more exotic sense for most of it. For most of us at the where our consciousness is geared. And those that indulge in iterating about it are often damaged, and maybe they might be better off standing next to a tree.
Right.
And I don't say that insincerely. I mean, it's a great benefit by standing next to a tree. It does give you a lot more oxygen.
Yeah.
Where would we be able to find that site if and when it comes out on the 21st?
Well, I'll post it on my blog, digitalmontauk.com, and it was, it won't be hard to find. David Anderson. Great. It was the Anderson Institute, probably under the Anderson Institute, I would imagine.
We'll make sure to put a link up on our site as well.
And Peter, do you mind taking a phone call? A listener has a question for you, if you don't mind. We have a question from Jim, who wants to know about time travel and deja vu. Jim, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good evening. Yeah, I was just listening to the conversation, and I wondered if, he said we all travel through time, and we might not all have the ability to comprehend what we're doing in some instances, but does time travel have anything to do with deja vu? I mean, when you get that sense that, wow, I've been here before, but I don't really think I've been here before.
That's a great...
Kind of elaborate on that?
Preston never really had an answer for deja vu. I believe that it's like a quake in time. A deja vu is like a quake, and it's like I've been here before.
So you're kind of feeling a ripple.
Yeah, recognition is the first step in any endeavor. Is recognition, and familiarity. The experience of consciousness is about familiarity and unfamiliarity, and becoming familiar with that which is not unfamiliar. So when you have a déjà vu, it's all of a sudden the concept of consciousness has become familiar. You can know where you are. There's destiny involved. That's just my opinion. It's like a quake in time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for calling, Jim.
Hey, not a problem, Corrine. It's good to talk to you.
You too. Have a good night. So Jim had a really good example there, the question of déjà vu, because it does happen. It happens to me, kind of often, and you wonder where is this coming from, So that's really interesting. Now, and so how would you describe, you're saying it's a quake in time. Okay, for instance, let me backtrack for a second. David Anderson, if he is in fact a time traveler, coming from the future, do you think, or the past? No, he's got to be coming from the future, right?
Well, they're all one and the same.
Right.
The time is a flow. David is like somebody who is sent as the custodian of time to fix things. It had to be somebody. It had to be somebody that would come out and do what hasn't been able to have been done.
So he does have a purpose for that, for his, coming to us at this time period. He's got a purpose.
Yeah, a big part of his work is educational. He's here to, education is a big part of the program, to educate people about time. And it's a step forward in, I guess, the evolution of man. The evolution of man is a very, very tough subject because, you can look at this sophisticated, well-groomed girl on TV that's on the news right now, and you can say, oh, like she looks really intelligent, advanced. But then, if you peel back into her gray matter, you might find that she doesn't know nothing about nothing. And so it's like, human beings are they're very challenging as to, they've got all this potential and they don't use it, and it's kind of like they can be viewed as lab rats or monkeys in a cage. And this is one of the problems with dealing with human beings. If you get outside of human beings, the human emotion is a very big, important part. So, what are we dealing with here?
Right.
And people are supposedly coming into this time where they're going to have to make this leap, and they're going to have to become real human beings. And how can we do this when most of the human beings are eating genetically modified food?
No kidding.
And the leaders are saying, well, we make money off this genetically modified food and all this money, and it's like a captain on a sea ship that's sinking playing poker and winning all the money from the crew when he should be ordering the crew to fix the ship.
Exactly.
Nice.
And this is the problem we're in, and it's funny, and it's not funny because the leaders don't get it.
No, they don't get it. They don't get it. Or they're just completely empty and soulless.
They don't care.
No, they don't care.
They want to make the money.
Exactly. All right. So, I'm not afraid to say Monsanto, which translates as Mountain of Saints. It should be called Mountain of Evil.
Or Death Santo. I like
Death Santo. Yeah. I mean, okay. So we know that the GMO thing didn't pass in California last night, unfortunately. It's probably never going to pass because, we're owned. We're owned by the businesses that have tons of money to
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's just ridiculous. So, I mean,
that's a big question. Who would want to own all of these robots? You see, this is the other thing. So this is why the human condition is quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge because, it's like, who wants to own these bunch of, monkeys in a cage? Like, would you want to be the keeper of a zoo so you could be in charge of all those animals and feed them and does it make you feel powerful? Could you experiment on them a little? It's it's not. If it was your job and you loved animals, you really wouldn't want to have sea animals in a zoo. So it's like that's really what they're like zookeepers.
But
That's a good way to put it.
Peter, they're making billions and billions of dollars, and I say they can't kill us fast enough.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's not a game that anybody would really want to play. It's not a sane game, and it just makes you question things. What I would say is the only thing that's going to reverse this is superconsciousness and activating the higher centers, because when we look at how dark it can be pretty dark. It's not all dark, and there are certainly potential to wake up and smell literally the roses of what can be accomplished. There's secrets coming out now, and there's hope for humanity in a big way, but it comes, like Moby Dick crashing the boat. It's like in that story, only one person is saved, and he writes the book. That's dealing with the whole, what's that word, the Leviathan. Moby Dick is like the Leviathan, which is something you cannot fight. So you have to sort of flow with it. You don't fight it, you flow with it and negotiate it, and it becomes a path of negotiation. What we do have in this society at this time is we have a lot more kernels of truth and a lot more avenues to explore. We have to choose our path wisely, but we have an assortment, an array of information to play with that we didn't have access to 50 years ago when some of us were born.
Unfortunately, that is true, but unfortunately, we are also cluttered with misinformation now just as well.
True.
There's a lot put out there to misdirect people and make them believe the things that aren't true. Peter, I got a quick question for you. A lot of the things that you're saying are reminding me of something that I read. Have you done any looking into the Buddhist religion?
I've studied some of the Buddhist religion. I've studied the birth stories of the Buddha, which are my favorite, the Jataka tales, which are supposed to be his own words. But why do you ask?
Just some of the things you were saying about the heightened consciousness and the abilities to control time. They got the Kala chakra, the samsara, which the translation is the wheel of time, and they learn to manipulate, be able to read what's coming, and actually they claim that they can change time. Well, and again, it's by a higher.
And David has studied Buddhist monks and whatnot, and gotten their reaction to time. The Kala chakra doesn't actually come from the Buddhists. It comes from the Bon religion of ancient Tibet, and the Buddhists co-opted it, much in the way Catholicism has co-opted aspects of the goddess religion and Mithras, the religion of Egypt and Mithras. So the Kala chakra is from the Bon religion, and they kind of stamped everything on it. I wrote about that in my book, The Black Sun, which the Nazis were very much into the Bon religion.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They did a big expedition, and that's when they started working on their whole time travel projects, the Die Clock and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with Die Clock specifically, but the Nazis are a whole interesting kettle of fish when it comes to the paranormal.
And I think actually you get into that in the Spandau Mystery book that you wrote.
The
right?
Spandau Mystery is a novel that I wrote to answer some of the questions that we couldn't get from normal occult history because it just wasn't covered. And that does go into some pretty exotic machinations of time.
Right. Okay, for people just joining us now, and I know it's a little bit late because the show's almost over, but however, if you want to call in and ask Peter Moon a question about time travel or whatever you might want to ask him, the call-in line is 425, scratch that, 877-230-3062, and you are listening to Supernatural Radio with Corrine DeWinter RJ and Nino Del Padre. And we have our special guest on the line right now, Peter Moon, author of many, many interesting, fascinating books. And so if you do want to call in, please do. Is there anything else that you can tell us, Peter? Like, we're really excited to have Peter separately, a new show in January. Tell us a little bit about the new book.
Well, that's very interesting because this is a region in Transylvania. It's the heart of Transylvania where I was this summer and was also there 3 years ago. And it's a place, there's a calendar, a solar calendar that is the ancient Dacians had there. And this whole area was the center of the spiritual center of humanity at one point, because and this book explains it, how all of humanity had to go to Transylvania because that was the only area that was not infiltrated by the Ice Age. So humans kind of came out of there. And this is consistent with the Caucasian theory of people coming out of the Caucasus Mountains and going into India and invading India, and all these ancient religions come out of Romania and Bulgaria, the Thracians. But this book is concerning a new discovery that is about tunnels of gold. And when we say gold, we're talking about miles of pure gold. And in geology, this does not occur. Gold, you'll mine a ton of gold ore to get 1 ounce of pure gold. It's a very expensive process. This is miles and miles and miles of gold. And it's in tunnel form. It's from an ancient civilization. There's hieroglyphics at one point that are evaluated in the book by the author, and I go into a further evaluation of them from my understanding of esoterics with some of the things they talk about. Now, this was the top state secret in Romania. It's even more important than the Sphinx area, where they have these underground chambers, because that gold alone at the time would have caused an invasion of Romania. And America is very much involved in the exploration now. That book ends with them not being able to explore the tunnels because they don't know how to access it. There's a professor who discovered these tunnels by accident. They were excavating after communism fell, about 1990. Professor Constantine. That was very interesting. I was over there, and I met somebody who knew Professor Constantine, so he's a real character. He's a real character. Now, you read the book and you say, oh, Professor Constantine, did Radu make him up or what? Is it a pseudonym? No. It's a real name. And I met somebody who knew him. And he started telling me stories. He says, wow, it's not exactly quite the way it happened, to the best of his knowledge. He told me where the tunnels are. It's very interesting because, I couldn't take you there. I could take you there and maybe lead you down the valley after some really rugged hiking. That most people would not make. But the thing is that it doesn't tell you where it is in the book. In fact, in the book it says they don't know where it is. And I'm being told the general direction of where it is, but I'm told you can only go there with permission of the spirits. The spirits there are supposed to be so powerful that they will just knock the living daylights out of any military force or other force that's going to come there. The road to Sarmasejatusa, they have paid money to have it paved, yet it's not paved. There's funding aside for it. It's like there's energies that do not make it easy to get there. So, when we went, we had to walk 4 kilometers to get there. If you had a car, you could drive up. We had 40-plus people, so, you can't, take a car with 40 people. The bus won't take it.
Wow.
Wow is right.
So what is the book's availability? Is it out yet, or? Not
out yet. It won't be done till January at the soonest because I got delayed from a computer crash and from this storm. I was working on it before I called, and I'll be working on it when I hang up.
And as soon as I have a copy in my hands, and I'm lucky enough that, I know Peter well enough that he will, he keeps me appraised of what he's doing and everything. But I hope to get that as soon as it's out, because like I said, he's fantastic.
Sounds great.
And, but, we will be having a special on that, come January or whenever the book comes out. And I've had a chance to read it, and the co-hosts have had a chance to read it, but I'm so looking forward to that. We actually have another question from our former caller. Peter, he says, is time travel just a state of consciousness?
Well, that's a good question. I would say that time travel, yeah, because the universe is a state of consciousness. So my answer is yes. The whole universe is consciousness. Everything you see, think, and feel is consciousness. In that sense, yes. But he might, in an objective sense, like if you get tackled on a football field, is that consciousness? Well, no, it's reality. And I would say, yeah, it's reality. But it's also conscious.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, so, our reality now, I'm just like, because the elections were last night, I'm kind of heated about the things that, whatever. I mean, it's hard to get into now, but, I'm just wondering, like, are we going to learn? Are people going to learn what we need to learn in order to have a future of peace?
Well, I don't know that peace is actually the goal. It's if you look at the tree of life, peace has a role and war has a role. But the real objective in life is to follow your path. You might have a path of peace, but you got to follow your path, whatever your path is, and that's all you can really negotiate. You can't negotiate other people's path. Some people will have a path where they're supposed to help big portions of humanity, and that's their role, for better or for worse. But you have to follow your path, and if your path is to be a politician, like I have a friend who's a politician, she's stepping down because she can't do anything more from that role. And she'll probably re-enter politics at some point. She knows when to bow out and when she'll go in. And she's all tied into this occult stuff that I study. So that's, there's a time and place for each of us to do what we're supposed to do on this earth.
Right. I have to, again, thank you, Peter, for calling in tonight. I know it was sort of last minute, and I so much appreciate your knowledge, and it's incredible having you as a friend, and I just want to thank you on all counts for just everything you've enlightened me with, and all your writings and everything. And we will hopefully, when the book comes out, let's plan to have you on the show again, and we'll focus on the book, because this sounds incredible, this book, this new book. I would love to.
It is incredible, and we'll see if I can get you some advanced things. I'll email you. And it would be neat. My friend, our friend Buddha has wanted to get me up there for the longest time. Maybe we can do something. I want to meet him in person.
Right.
Because that's going to uncork a lot of esoteric threads. He considers you've saved his life with the purple plates you sell. And
that is incredible. I'd love to have the Buddha on. But we will be in touch, and let's plan on, as soon as the book coming out, let's do a show.
I can't wait to read it.
I know. I'm completely excited about it. I mean, really. Okay, so Peter, we're going to be in touch soon. Let me know what's going on. We'll be in touch as usual. And again, you guys are listening to Supernatural Radio. We have about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to just say, when Peter will be back on the show, we will have it up at our website, supernaturalradioshow.com. And as I always have a giveaway, I'm going to give away right now. If you've listened to the show this long, you deserve something. No, I'm kidding. This was a good show because of Peter. If you write to us at supernaturalradioshow.com, leave your name and address, you will win a free Nikola Tesla t-shirt.
Love those t-shirts.
They're fantastic.
They're really cool.
We have 2 styles. We choose which one we send you. But they're both fantastic. It doesn't matter which one we choose you, but you will get that at no charge. Just send us your name and address, And stay tuned. Look up the website, and we will hopefully have some really interesting shows coming up.
Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, RJ has something to say. Sorry.
Just real quick. Peter, you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anything about Ronald Mallett and his work?
Yes, I do. And he's taken a lot of David Anderson's concepts and done nothing with them. That's
really?
It's a joke to me.
Oh, really? I actually just started reading about him. I guess he recently, right in Connecticut, had done some at UConn had done some experiments, and he believes that we are within 10 years of actually having a machine that can control time travel. What do you think?
It's a joke. We already have him. This guy is like he's out in left field. He's like, hey, I know. I'm in 10 years we'll be able to throw a curveball in the major league.
Hey, I just learned that, and that wasn't that easy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is where he's at, and his stuff has been bandied all about the media, and David Anderson is ignored. It's like,
See?
He actually did mention David Anderson in one of his blogs there.
Did he mention he ripped him off?
Right.
Well, that was what I was getting at. Do you feel that this guy is like the front man for the media to slowly work us into it? I mean, do you really believe that he feels that we're at this point, or does he know that we're beyond it?
No, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't even strike me as being very intelligent when I've seen him speak. I'm not impressed at all. And David's been very polite. David's very respectful and very polite, and I've seen him be very nice to other physicists who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. And see, there's a big problem between engineers and physicists. Engineers don't like physicists because physicists don't do. Engineers do.
Nice.
And David's both. So
Yes,
he bridges
yes.
that gap. And I mean, I can't take Ronald Mallett seriously, just like I can't take Stephen Hawking seriously after you change your position so many times. I've never had to change my position.
Time travelers.
What?
He did throw a party for time travelers, Stephen Hawking.
Anybody show up?
No, he actually put the invitations out after the party, but he said that was supporting facts that it's not true because nobody actually showed up. But then again, if you were a time traveler, would you want everyone to know publicly like that?
Right. We got 2 seconds left, you guys. So we're going to have to think.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you,
you very
Peter.
much.
Take care in the storm, too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, you guys, listen, next week we're going to have more giveaways, and we are actually having a special on Lizzie Borden. You might know who Lizzie Borden is, but if not, you will find out. Very interesting story.
That's right.
So again, thank you guys so much, and take care of each other, and good night.
Thank you for listening